What is going on, Busy Bariatrics? I'm Rob, your favorite VSG man turned bariatric coach, and today we're sitting down with someone who doesn't just talk about community, she actually builds it. Char Holmes is a life coach, a bariatric voice, podcast host, and honestly, one of the biggest hype women in the bariatric community and in a larger community as well. For people who often get overlooked, like the guys and like a lot of misrepresented voices, Shar just brings them to life and helps bring them and all their energy with it. You might know her from Talk Barry to Me, but today we're going to dive deep into what makes Shar Shar. The way she shows up, lifts other people up, and never misses the deeper layers of this journey is amazing. And unfortunately, the first time I met Shar was in San Diego. Do you remember this? It was late at night. I had clearly enjoyed the flight out and was like ready to crash. And I felt terrible because Shar was the warmest person ever. And I came
Oh,
in
thank
like half exhausted from the flight and the travel and everything. I was like, hi, nice to meet you. And almost like fell asleep. But I'm so happy that you're here. And before we get
thank you.
in, if you've ever felt seen, hyped, or supported by Shar, do me a favor, screenshot this episode, tag Talk Barry to Me and My Weight is History, and show her what impact means by hyping other people on. But now we can get into the show. How are you,
Yeah,
buddy?
I'm great. I'm awake. I woke up this morning, so that's a win, right? That's a big win for all of us. So I'm doing fantastic. What about yourself?
I'm recording with great people all day. You kind of
I
got to see it.
know.
So, for those of you
Yeah.
behind the scenes, Shar came a little early, and me and Mel were catching up behind, and all three of us got to talk for a little bit. And
Yeah.
it's just a true testament, like I said before we hit record, of what you do in this community and the ability to bring people together. Have you been like that your entire life, or is that something that came about from bariatric surgery?
No, well, that's a great question, first off, but I've always been the type that I like to have different people in my atmosphere. And my mom used to always poke fun at me. And she's like, you just pick up strays. And I'm just like, Mom, like, they're great. Like, I would always see the best in people and just want to be in proximity to that. So I think it's been a thing for me for a while. I was the kid on the report card that got the message that she's too chatty, too talkative. So you probably know that kid. And that kid will probably be someone chatting on a podcast one day.
I teach those kids all the time, and I'm like, you really should record this. And
Yes.
then they're like, really? I'm like, yes, not right now while I'm trying to do my podcast, which is teaching every day in front of kids
Yes.
who don't want to learn history. But then it's like, record it and then send it to me then. So it
Shout
just
out to the
shows
teachers.
yeah, it really is a tough profession, but I love it. And it's why, like, I don't leave it.
Yeah.
But it's awesome because I'm sure you've had teachers in your life who also saw all the good that you do and inspired you. Have you ever had one that's told you you're great?
Yeah, I actually get, and I was like trying to fight the emotions here, but like, if I'm being completely honest, it was my fifth grade teacher. She, Miss DeVoe, shout out to Miss DeVoe. Maybe she'll come across the pod. That'd be really cool. She was someone who saw something in me before I saw something in me. I had no idea I even had this thing existing inside of me until she told me one day, you're more than just your jokes. You're more than just trying to make other people laugh. She's like, you're actually very bright and you have this energy about you. And I didn't really get it because I was a fifth grader. And then I was like, oh, whatever. But it only made sense years later. Years later, it just came full circle, and I'm forever grateful for a Miss DeVoe, and I'm sure there's someone great for Mr. Domidio. So it's important. It's important the work that you do and just teachers do. So shout out to the teachers, respectfully. Yeah.
Is can you Do you think you could deep dive and figure out where she is? You should tell her.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I guess I'd probably just Google her and see if
Google
she.
Miss DeVoe. If anyone knows Miss DeVoe, like, tag Shar in the episode and be like, let's find her. But
Yeah,
you
that'd
know,
be awesome.
I think as teachers, and I think let's go there a little bit. I think as teachers and as people in the bariatric community, one common thing that when I talk to all the creators have is they don't necessarily know if they're making a difference until someone tells them they're making a difference. Does that sentence resonate with you in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, we talked a little bit about the meetup in San Diego. That was my very first meetup. So you also met me in like my awkward stage because I was just like, I don't know. Like as much as I resonate with the idea of like appearing confident, I also have my little nerves here and there. Going into that space, I didn't realize so many people knew me. Like I'm like, oh, I'm documenting my journey, but people were like coming up to me. They're like, you changed my life. And I'm just like, that's a little dramatic. But then I had to accept that because I realized that I am very vulnerable in my space and having people coming up to you and saying those things that who've never met you before, because that it was a little awkward initially. And then I just had to sit with that. And it's really awesome how just living your life can teach someone else, right? Like, because I'm not necessarily trying to teach lessons as a person who was creating content. I was just being vulnerable about what I was experiencing. And I'm glad some people got something out of it. So that was pretty cool.
I would argue you're showing how to show up vulnerable. And that's a trait that I think as a teacher, but also in the bariatric community, it's really tough to like be raw and be honest and be like, oh, you're not having a good day, or and not do it in a whiny way, which I think
Yeah.
sometimes comes off where it's you do a very good job of showing up how you are and how you work through it. And I don't think many people understand how hard that is to do on a social media platform. So what struggles do you have with sharing?
Yeah, so to your point, I definitely, when I go through a struggle, I'm very solution driven. That's just how my brain works. Like it's hard for me to sit with just the feeling. I can feel my feels, but I also want to extract lessons from the things I experience. For me, I just shared December 11th, I was let go from my employment of 10 years. I had been at this 9 to 5 for 10 years. I was a federal contractor, and I won't say exact agency,
I
but
got you. I got you.
and so, yeah, I did that for 10 years and I was terminated weeks before Christmas. I'm a mother of three, and
Oh my.
that hit me like a ton of bricks. Just that a person who grew up living in survival mode to be now in a situation where I got to activate survival mode, like exit at this point,
And
that was
especially in
a
the
lot
holidays.
during the holidays. The kids are gracious because a lot of the two little ones, I have a 1 year old, and I have a 3 year old, and I have a 16-year old. So my 16-year old, she's so gracious. She's like, Mom, don't worry about gifts, Mom. Just it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. I'm like, I gotta figure something out. But that was a hard time turned into a lesson, right? Because I was left with no other options than to deal in that situation. So I sat in that moment, Rob, and I was just like, okay, you can cry for 15 minutes, but now you got to move on. So I allowed myself space to feel really, really hard feelings and then immediately went into strategy. I'm like, you know what? I'm on social media. Let's make this work. And so that is the most recent situation. There's a long list of things I've experienced, but that one in particular showed me what I was made of, showed me what I was capable of, even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of confusion. Sometimes all you have to do is just show up and then the pieces just kind of fall into place. But you got to do the first step, show up and actually show out.
There's so much I want to talk about there
Yes.
because it's such a brilliant thing, and I think if people don't understand what it's like growing up with scarcity in their life, they just don't get it.
Yeah.
And I think more importantly that it can really be one of two things. It can either be the greatest resource or it can be the biggest thing that holds people back. And I'm so proud to hear that because I think of a lesson that I teach all my kids from Tony Dungy, who has, NFL Hall of Fame coach, player. You have 24 hours to feel your feelings and then you need to take action. So he would say after a Super Bowl win, like, look, he won and lost the Super Bowl. You get 24 hours to feel the way you feel and then you move forward. And I kind of, do you mind if I start talking about
Go
that
for
with you? Can we
Yeah, go
open
for it.
with that? Someone
Yeah.
here I hope is listening and might be like, how do I get started? And you as a life coach, I think that this is probably when people come to you of how do you get started when you're in a situation like that? Like what were your next steps after your cry?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for saying that because I think a lot of times we don't hold space for these types of conversations all the time. So it's very, very normal to be upset. It's very, very normal to feel sad. Those are real emotions. So I never want to tell someone to not allow themselves the space to feel those things. So number one, acknowledge those feelings because what you resist persists, right? So if we resist this notion of not visiting those feelings, they just keep coming up. That's where that piece of being a trauma informed life coach comes into play. So I tell my clients, I'm like, we all have some stuff, right? Like that is just the nature of life. Like if you're living in this life and you woke up this morning, you probably experienced something, right? So I do want to know that while this is my current situation, it isn't my forever situation. I do tell myself that daily, right? I also am very much the type of person is what can I do now, even if it's just one step that's going to get me closer to what I want to get out of this situation. So that that requires a lot of trust in self, right? Because I think sometimes we go into situations and it's like I don't know. I don't know if I'm capable of doing this. I don't know where this is going, but I said to myself right after I cried, I'm like, I'm going to make this entrepreneur stuff really work. Like, I'm going to make it work. I'm already generating income. So technically, I'm already an entrepreneur. Like, I'm doing all these partnership deals. So, in full context, just to give a little disclaimer, I was already doing social media. I was generating income from social media even while I was working. But that did help a little, but it wasn't like enough to cover my entire salary. Just want to put that out there.
But and I think part of what I've been doing is I've been having like some really awesome people come up in the spaces. We're talking to, like Rissa and Chris from Bariatrics,
Yes.
Kelly and Mel from our Sleep Life podcast. We're talking to you. I think there's this big belief that everyone is getting rich in this community. And I don't think people understand, like, no, we make some money. We do not make
Yes.
so much that we can live a lifestyle. It's a part of our lifestyle, but
Right.
it's really hard work even to get to that point. So,
Yeah.
knowing that, what were your next steps?
Yeah, so I knew that piece and I said, you're already coaching people. I was coaching people for free and I was like for a while scared to charge. And that's so silly because I'm like I just love helping people, but like I didn't really need the money then, but now I'm like okay, now you're actually going to have to charge people for your services. Now you're actually going to have to strategize like your content, your partnerships. So I got really really detailed in my next steps. I started strategizing with what I had, what I'm able to do. I couldn't focus on if I have this, then I can do that. I had to work with what I had, which is where the scrappy resourcefulness tapped into that point you made earlier about growing up in scarcity. Sometimes when you don't have it, you just make do with what you have. So that's kind of my mentality till this day. And I'm in a way better situation and I'm able to, even without having all of the things, right? Doing well for myself. My kids have a roof over their head. I have a vehicle that gets me from point A to point B, but I had to be super scrappy. And I think that it's hilarious now how my and I say hilarious because I'm like at the moment of the trauma and at the moment of being in poverty, you don't realize how useful it is until you're faced with a situation where you're having to tap into the very same thing that caused you pain or the very same thing that may have caused you distress in a moment in time. So I think that's super interesting. But that has been my go-to, just my resourcefulness, my scrappiness, hustling, making good connections, building relationships. So yeah, that's kind of where I went with it right after.
I think it's funny because, not funny, but like insightful. I use humor to mask my emotions. But yeah, and
Yes.
we're singing. But I think that scarcity is true, and I look at it from coaching, in the bariatric community, and I'm in bigger coaching spaces, and I hate to label, but you can tell coaches who have never dealt with obesity versus coaches who have. And it's the same thing of like with scarcity, I feel. When I started Busy Bariatrics, I did not have any money. I was still about 40 grand in debt. So I literally put together 8 grand to get my coaching cert and everything else and like to be mentored. And then when people are like, can I coach you for free? It's like, no, you don't understand. Like the software costs money.
Yeah.
I have to skip shifts. Like I was coaching clients while working in a parking lot as security while teaching just so that we could like make ends meet. And I think that's something that like until you meet other people who get it, people don't get it.
Right.
So
Right.
when you have to work and there really isn't another choice of that, how does that develop your coaching practice? How does that, show up for you as a coach and as someone who does get it?
Yeah, I think that lived experience is everything. Prior to coaching in the bariatric space, I was a youth coach where I would work with at-risk youth. I was at one point an at-risk youth, and so
But like
that
unless
lived
you like
experience.
there's something to say. It's a recurring theme of today of
Yeah,
unless you get it, you don't get it.
right. Right. And I mean that, and we mean that respectfully because I think some people are like, we want to get it. And I understand that a lot of people want to be able to tap into certain things. And I think it's really, really beautiful that people do educate themselves and open themselves up to these types of conversation because you learn from each other. And I think that's the whole purpose of our existence is to kind of that exchange of energy and information. So I'm here for all of that. But I do think that there is value in lived experience. Having a coach, like for instance, for you, Robert, you have the lived experience. So if you were my coach, I'd be like, were you ever fat before? Like, like in my mind, I mean, I've said it out loud, but at least now you're like, look, I've done the work, that bolsters credibility through the roof. And it is what it is. Like there's no faking the actual work. There's no faking the going through the pain. There's no faking going through maybe sleepless nights. There's no faking failure, right? And having to bounce back from it. Like these are all things that lived experience like carry a lot of weight. And I think that that's important. So that does really help with my coaching because I feel like my clients feel like, all right, well, you've done the work, right? Like and I still tell them like I'm still doing the work. So like let's not get it twisted. I'm still a work in progress myself, but I can only speak to you from the spaces and places that I've been in and what has worked for me and what has not worked for me. And my approach may not necessarily be the approach we need to take with your situation. So I think that knowing and being around so many different types of people also aids my coaching because I open myself up to see other perspectives. All those things, all those little pieces come together so beautifully, don't they?
It's been a recurring theme throughout the entire day, as well as, talking with you is when you're a unifier like yourself and you choose to see the good in everyone as opposed to like the bad or not to see them at all, you realize like, look, it's if we take little pieces of each and every person with us but also connect them together, it almost the sum is greater than all the parts. And it's a beautiful thing of where like coaching really is a great craft to show that in. So, what's been like the biggest thing you've noticed in the bariatric community that you can help with or help develop?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So there are a few common themes in the coaching space, and specifically with the bariatric population. One that like sticks out like a sore thumb is the confidence piece. And so I hear it all the time, just in conversations on TikTok videos and just people talking about this newfound confidence or their lack of the confidence piece. And it does come up in the coaching. And you don't realize how important confidence is until you actually tap into what you already have inside, right? So that confidence piece, Rob, comes up all the time. And I love it, but I think I look at confidence like a skill. And I know when I say that to people, sometimes they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, think about a skill, right? You have to develop it, right? Now we're not all born with confidence. I mean, maybe some, but just it's something that you have to work on day in, day out. And what happens as you continue to work on a skill, it gets better and better and better, and it becomes a lot almost like a nature, right? So that comes up a lot. Have you heard any of that on the guy's side, the confidence piece? Because right now I'm seeing a lot of women on that end.
So here's my hot take in the bariatric community. The men and women actually have a lot of the same problems, and that
Okay.
it's almost uncanny. Yeah, it comes down to confidence. I look at myself
Yeah.
even personally. I was telling Mel, who we talked to and both know from our Sleep Life podcast, when I had to ask for a senior prom date, I had to start like 9 months out. And I
Mm,
had to essentially be like, okay, I am like a huskier dude who would actually like want to spend time with me, who would actually want to go to prom with me. And then how do I start to cultivate or talk or approach it? It took 9 months of overthinking, planning, and analyzing just for me to even ask and hope that they said yes. My brother Will, who had nothing but confidence and was a handsome man, like he asked his prom date, I think like 2 weeks before, and I think she already had a date and the date ditched him. Like the date ditched them to go with Will. And it was one of those of like, yeah, like that's the benefit of confidence. What takes someone without confidence, maybe 9 months, someone with confidence, do it with 9 minutes. And how do you start to teach that as a skill to your clients? Because that's a superpower.
yeah, yeah. So I think when we start remembering that we already have things within us that are unique, that we already have things within us that only we can bring out. I think that starts a conversation because I think a lot of times the confidence is when we're looking outside of ourselves, right? We're looking at other people, we're looking at other situations. Sometimes it may come from a long line of people telling you you weren't worthy or enough. That's where that trauma piece comes in. We want to just start highlighting what are some things that are outstanding about you? What are some things that are phenomenal about you already? And sometimes it's a little digging, right? Because sometimes people get focused on, oh, well, I don't really have the weight that I'm at. I'm not at the weight that I want. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Outside of your physical appearance, what do you love about yourself? And that question sometimes brings up tears. Sometimes it brings up emotion because some people feel like they don't have anything. And that's where we start, right? Because then when you tell me, look, I don't feel like I have anything to offer. I'm like, you know what? You just offered me vulnerability. That's awesome. A lot of people don't even have that piece down packed. So we start digging a little deeper. I call it like the onion theory. If you've watched Shrek, when you like peel back the layers, you get to, it's a lot of that, right? We do a lot of that when it comes to developing the why, but that's a whole nother load of topic, right? But the confidence piece, just starting to start with where you at. Like that's back to that scrappiness. Like it's funny how that kind of played back. Start with what you have. Start with what you know about yourself. Start with what you're capable of doing, right? Start highlighting those pieces because there's always going to be a negative, right? Like that, look, you don't have to subscribe to negativity. Sometimes it's just floating around, right? So I tell them all the time, like, start with the things that you love about yourself. Start jotting down the things that you love about yourself that have nothing to do with your appearance. We can make a moment for your appearance too if there's something you love about your appearance. I don't want to discourage you from that, but we highlight those pieces. Then what we do is we start crafting a plan, right? And I know that sounds like, oh, a little much, but we start crafting a
I
plan.
don't
What
think at all.
things?
I'll stop you right there. It's not at all. And if
Yeah.
anyone who does think, that's where you need to start working on your confidence.
Okay. That part. And I think what happens too is like when you put things on paper, it just makes it a little more real because I've had people say, I didn't even know this about myself till I put it on paper. And I'm like, yeah, it's so powerful. Like we're living in the world of like, let's text this, let's text that, and all that is fantastic. But when you put pen to paper, something about that cements the truth on those sheets. Listen, I'm
Yo, my
telling
yellow legal pads, I
you,
live off
right.
of.
And it's powerful. It's the simple things that carry the most weight. That is such a powerful thing. Just write it down, right? You see it on paper. You read these great qualities about yourself. I'm an affirmation person. That's wonderful, but you actually have to start feeling those feelings. You have to start what would it feel like to feel beautiful and really live in that space. I'm also a proprietor for it's okay to be a little delusional, right? Because you couldn't tell me, Rob, that I wasn't skinny back in the day. And I was over 355 pounds, but it was this act of like convincing myself. And living in New York City is not that hard to be confident, guys. If you want a confidence boost, go to New York. There's going to be somebody interested. But no,
You can always tell when like the people from the Northeast get together because it's like a totally different vibe than any other part of the country. So I 100% agree with what you said.
you know what I'm talking about.
As a Philly dude, I got to tell you, yes.
And I used to be all over Philly. Philly is awesome. Center City was where I used to like do my little hangouts.
That's the best.
But yeah, yeah. But no, honestly, like it's very unique approach for every person because some people need a little more work than others. Some people are like, okay, I just needed to see this. I just needed this plan of execution. And you have to be intentional with anything you do, whether it's working on your confidence, whether it's working on your weight. If you don't put intentionality behind it and you actually track and like write it down. That's like the theme of it. Document it. Please document it because then you'll be able to revisit those things and see the growth and acknowledge that growth. That also boosts confidence because you're crafting wins, right? That's another thing. And I can go all day about this, Rob, so you can shut me up at any point.
No,
But
I'm actually upset I'm not writing more of this down.
so one of the other things that I do, it's kind of like a confidence hack. You develop little wins for yourself. So they could be little simple tasks, right? When you create these wins for yourself, it also boosts your confidence. It literally creates this atmosphere of a win, right? What happens when you win? You're excited. You start feeling like, well, what can I do next? Right? And naturally you're going to graduate to bigger wins. But start crafting little wins. Those little wins could be something as simple as today, I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm going to tell myself, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, and I'm capable. Or maybe today is the day you decide, I'm going to put on some eyelashes. I'm talking to the ladies right now. Fellas, maybe today's the day you do your grooming, your beard grooming, you go through the whole routine, right? Whatever that is for you, make it sustainable, make it easy enough for you to get that win and check it off. Believe me, naturally, you're going to want to do what's next. You're going to want to explore what's next. And your confidence, it's going to keep going higher from there.
I think it's so important because like you go through that, and my coach, like, and believe it or not, coaches have coaches, people.
They do.
But one of the things as a business owner is it can be overwhelming, and you can go in a million different directions. And I think my bariatric journey was similar. You can go in a million different directions after bariatric surgery. What really has helped me at this next level is just putting 3 tasks a day on my Google Calendar and then checking them off. But here's where I really find the benefit. At the end of the month, I've started to just sit and go back and look what I did in a month, and I'm amazed. I'm just like,
Yes.
oh my God, I really did accomplish some things. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier of you don't have to have it all solved right on day one. You just have to get this much closer, this much closer, this much closer. And by those little tasks and activities that you do, it really does help move you forward. So what were some of the things you worked on when you were like in that first stage?
My bariatric journey.
Whatever one you want to go, bariatrics,
Yeah.
right
They
after
all
opening the
kind
business. Either way, I'm sure
yeah.
you had a system that has worked for you
Yeah.
and gotten you this
Yeah.
far.
So, number one, I know some people have their own belief systems. I have my own belief systems. I definitely tapped into that, my spiritual side. I also took a moment to just take pause, right? Because my mind can go a million miles an hour and just really say, what can I do right now in this very moment? And this is going to relate to both my business journey and my bariatric
See
journey.
what I
So
mean?
yeah, yeah. So I felt like at one point going into the bariatric journey, I didn't know what I was doing. Same thing with the business side. I went into it not really knowing what I was doing, but I'm like, I'm just gonna do one thing right. And whatever I do know how to do right, let's just do it. And as I kept doing those things, those little orchestrated wins that we were talking about just a moment ago, I noticed that the curiosity started to peak. Now I want to learn more. Now I want to do more. I started with the ricotta bake, like most people on the
My
journey.
meal. Love it.
And so I graduated from ricotta bake, and then like, you know what? There are other forms of proteins I can have. There are other forms of things. Same thing with the business. I'm like, you know what? I want to keep fine tuning my coaching. I want to really, really want to concentrate on the community that I'm actively in every single day. So what am I going to do? I'm already in the community. Let me get to know more people. How do I do that? Hey, let's put a podcast together because, why not?
Why
Let's
not?
give people, why not?
Hey,
Let's
look
give
at us. Look at us.
yeah, right, right. And no, and really, really, it was about telling stories, right? Because to your point earlier, so many stories in this community, like, I mean, if you hear some people's stories, you literally be like, oh my God. And it's crazy. So to have a space and be able to offer a space for people to just really just be vulnerable and tell their stories is such an honor. Like beyond any awards, right? Beyond any awards, like all the awards, I
The
think
awards
it's
and
super.
accolades
Right, but beyond the awards and accolades, I think it's about the humanity piece. It's about the human element of everything because I'm learning from my clients as much as they're learning from me. I learn from this community as much as you guys learn from me, and I feel like it's so important, right? Because I mean, I could have been doing this journey by myself, but having the community, man, Rob, that really changed the game for me, and I feel like knowing when you need to tap into an outside resource is also pivotal on this journey, whether it's your entrepreneurship journey or your bariatric journey. That you're going to reach a point where you're at the cap of what you know. And that's okay, right? Because as long as you're open and willing to tap into your resources, tap into the community, tap into your providers, tap into other entrepreneurs who are doing the things that you aspire to do. I think there has to be a degree of humility too, right? You have to be willing to be like, you know what? I don't really know it all. So, like, let me start tapping into my resources. So, whether you are pre op, post op, a vet, and there's so many people that are like 10 years out and they're still tapping into resources. Shout out to Fairy Mother, too. She's another one who sometimes I'm always shocked because I thought she had all the answers. And sometimes we have conversations and I'm like, man, she's so humble and she's like honest about learning. And I think that's beautiful.
from interviewing. Because I started Men Support Monday back in 2021, and I had it for 3 years, where that evolved to Maintenance Monday. I
Yeah.
started with just you do a really good job. How do you do it? Just like when I have you on, it's like, well, how did you do this? It's
Yeah.
I kind of like to see how that all works with other people, but it just becomes a recurring theme of like, if you are willing to learn, and ask the questions. I didn't know how to start interviewing people. I didn't know how to get on Instagram Live. Like the first thing I did was my first time I ever did Instagram Live. And then everyone's like, you should probably do another. And I did another. And then I did another. And you slowly
Yeah.
build that confidence up by doing and learning. Where do you go now to learn in the bariatric community or outside the bariatric community?
I'm all over. I'm like all over the community because I see there's a lot of new people coming in and they have, their own experiences. I tap into a lot of you guys in the community who I've either met in person or folks who I've just kind of follow online, haven't quite met in person. I do love a really true, like raw. That's just my energy. Like I like raw, authentic content. People who are telling me, look, I just puke my guts out. I'm like,
Yeah,
yes, like that's what I want to hear. Same way I am with like my coaches now, like the people who mentored me. I'm like, please don't give me fluff. Like I'm not the girl that needs fluff. I'm the girl that needs the raw truth.
I fire cheerleader coaches.
Yeah.
And I am not a cheerleader coach. And my clients will tell you, I am not a cheerleader coach because I truly think like my love language is I want to get you better.
Yes.
And that's like not in a mean way. There's a way to do that authentically. But I think it's a recurring theme of everyone I've talked to today is helping others is a skill to do it off from an authentic place of wanting other human beings to be better and seeing the good in
Yes.
them.
Yeah. And I think I'd be doing you a disservice, right? Like if I don't want fluff from my mentors, I'm not going to give you fluff, right? I know where a lot of my clients are. I've been there, right? To the whole point of lived experience. I'm not going to play with someone when I've walked down this path before, and I'm not going to be everyone's coach, right? But I'm the coach for somebody. And when that somebody finds me, just know you're going to get mommy love, right? Like I'm going to come from a place of nurturing, but also honesty, holding you accountable, but knowing that sometimes we fudge up, right? Like that's just the nature of life. But I'm also going to remind you this is the part where you bounce back. This is the part where you set yourself up to get to the next level.
Corby Fadeaway Ryan was one of our summer camp speakers, and I love him. And I don't spend enough. It's like you. I don't spend enough time with the people I want to because I'm always moving at these things. He
Yeah.
spoke at summer camp, and the quote he said with me is like he identifies to people who he is, and he doesn't have to recreate it for anyone. And that I think is kind of summed me up of like, look, this is it. Like I don't know what else to tell you, but I can get you to this.
Yes, no, but that's what people love about you, your authenticity, the fact that you are like, look, this is who I am. And I think there's power in that because I always talk about if you really truly embody your confidence, because I know confidence comes up quite a bit, like I said, in this community, but when you truly begin to embody your confidence, right, like you show up as yourself because you don't have to people please. You don't have to morph into this other human being to be validated or accepted. And that's powerful, right? And knowing that, I'm not saying that when you show up, you feel like, oh, I'm perfection. No, I know I have imperfections, but accepting it, acknowledging it, and knowing that, look, I'm going to operate at this frequency because this is who I am. I'm going to operate and be myself everywhere I go. The people who are going to love me, they're going to love me. The people who are not going to like me, well, they're still probably going to love me or pretend to love me. So I can live with that. So yeah, that's all you can be. Everybody else is taken up. Don't seriously. And that's another thing too, Rob, the people pleasing. That's a hard one for a lot of the clients who I talk to break out of that cycle. I'm kind of like I told you, I'm the blunt coach. I'm like, listen,
It's why you and me vibe so well, but I think it's that I think we have to just take people from like the New York, Philadelphia area, and we have to like be almost like missionaries for the
right,
rest of the world. Like, look, we're not really that big of a jerk. It's that
right.
we don't have the time to kind of sugarcoat it. It's more of like, look, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think you need to do.
Right. And it comes from a place of love, guys. And honestly, I still, I'm not ever in a space of wanting to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm always going to be like, the person who leads with grace, but we also cannot sugarcoat it for you because real life is not going to be sugarcoated. And you didn't pay your coach for your coach to waste your time, right? The whole purpose of a coach is kind of like a shortcut in a sense because, yeah, you still have to do the work, but we're also kind of helping you not fall in those pitfalls that we fell. And maybe it cost us a lot of money. Maybe it cost us a lot of time. So the beauty of having a coach is knowing that your coach has kind of walked the walk and it's an outside pair of eyes is looking in and say, hey, maybe not the best option, still your decision, but maybe there's an alternative route we can take. So I think shout out to the coaches, because I don't think the coaches get a lot of love, and sometimes they get a bad rep at times, but like they're really out here saving lives, like for real.
I truly look at some of the most influential people in my life are teachers and coaches, and there's no surprise now that I am a teacher and a coach.
And a coach, because those are your first coaches if you think about it, right? Like your
100%.
teachers
Yeah.
are guiding you through this thing called, like, they have you more hours than your parents at times, you know? So like they have such a huge influence on where you go next, which is why I'm always going to be grateful to all of the teachers who take out from their time to teach somebody else's kids, and to be not only that, but sometimes inadvertently their parent figure, because maybe they, whatever situation is, whatever situation they have back home. So I think that teachers deserve all the flowers and all the money. Okay, that too. Let's not forget that and all the pay.
Well, I promise you, we get flowers, is what I'll say.
Yes.
But no, it's a good part. And I think you as a coach have realized that it's tough because it's one level, I think, in your bariatric journey or in coaching to show up for yourself. The next toughest thing is like showing up for others. So how do you maintain your results? How do you show up for yourself while pouring into so many other people? Because it is amazing to see you in the community and see how many people you've just poured into. Like, it was awesome at JBY to kind of be like, I know Shar's impacted them when they won their award. I know that person. I know that person. And I know the work that you put into this community. And it was just reflected all over that night. How do you do that for yourself?
My goodness. So I do have to do better at times. I am a mommy. Those are usually the people who take priority in my life. The community is like an extension of my family. So at times I do have to literally put things on the calendar, because if it does not go on the calendar, they will slip through the crack. Even
How
things
do you
like
think I got
self-care.
you on here?
Okay, you know exactly what I mean, because you want to do so much. You want to impact so many people. You want to, create value, right? Because what we do is not just to, we don't want to just do this and it's like blah, blah, blah. No, we want to add value. We want to bring something that someone can take something from. So that takes a lot of energy. By the time I'm done with my podcast and the coaching, I'm like, so I do take quiet times. Quiet times for me are like, I mean, it may be in the bathroom, but like, man, those quiet times mean the world to me. Really, really, truly does.
It really is kind of beautiful when you have that time. And I think, especially as two people who are self proclaimed, we like to talk. And I think that shows from our experiences in elementary school all the way up to what we do now.
Yes.
Almost, I find more value in finding silent spaces like that. And that really is part of it. Like, my favorite part of JBY and retreat and everything else is like Sunday when it's kind of done and I can kind of just reflect a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a nice spot to kind of reflect and do everything.
It's so beautiful because I guess it's almost like after working out and you kind of, your body starts to settle. That same feeling emotionally comes over me, like after like a lot of interactions. JBY was a great example. Bariatric Society's retreat, that was a large event, right? A lot of people, a lot of interactions, and I love, love, love the love. But I was like, I was,
You're I don't think,
yeah,
and it's funny because I recorded with Rissa and Chris this morning and Mel right before you. And it's a recurring theme is I don't think people understand it is exhausting. And I don't say that in a bad way. I say, like, you're high on energy, you're meeting people, you're connecting, you're talking. And yes, we sometimes do it in 60-second reels or long form content like this, but it still drains your battery and you're tired at the end of the day. And we all kind of like get done a retreat day or anything else. And it's like, man, I'm shot by 9 o'clock
yeah.
every night.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and I am very appreciative of it, because this is not a space I ever imagined myself in. Not because I didn't want to do things in the community. I just, when you do things out of love, naturally they kind of take off, right? And I came into it with really like just wanting to add value in the same way, like you kind of said, look, I figured this stuff out. This is not how it started. And like little by little, this got bigger. Talk Berry to me stemmed from another show that I was doing with someone else. It was myself and a co-host, Very Pretty Pinup. She's not really in the community too much, but she's great. And Pretty Pinup and I had a show called Very Intentional Chat. Eventually, life got the lifing, and we were like, look, take care of life, right? Like you have to take care of life. And I branched off and did Talk Berry to Me. And while Talk Berry to Me was just like, oh, just hopefully people will come and watch. When I tell you, Rob, when I would have like even just 20 people in there, I'm like, imagine a room, like a real life room with 20 people in it. That's still a lot of people. And then that slowly started increasing, increasing. Now you're in a room with 60 people and you're like, oh, okay, I guess people really do enjoy the conversations, the stories, and some, like I've said before, and you know this because you interview people, some people's stories only they can tell it because there's a message tied to every individual story that we bring on these shows. And I think while we can give all these fancy messages and I do these like mindset Monday things on TikTok, I feel like when I bring a guest, their stories are so unique to them and the message is so unique to them that when they deliver it, it's always like chef's kiss. It's a beautiful moment. And there's always someone in the chat that's like, I really needed to hear that. And that to me is the world. Like, I think that's such a rewarding feeling.
I think from a coaching standpoint, we always say, like, we talk about a black swan. Like, as a coach, you can talk about a black swan till you're blue in the face. And if someone hasn't seen a black swan, you don't know what a black swan is. But then if you can show it and be like, no, hear this story of that's the black swan, is when you can either bring a client or someone you've worked through and be like, no, this is exactly how we did it. And people are like, I can do that too. It's a powerful way to story tell, but also to get people through difficult situations in their journey.
Yes. Imagine like how back in the day stories would get like told. Like I always thought those were fascinating when people like share these I don't even know what it's technically called. You're a history teacher. Tell me what it's called when they pass one story on from one person to the next, like from one generation to the next.
That's a great question. Generational storytelling. It's just
Well,
storytelling.
yeah, so they used to pass down stories back in the day, and I feel like those stories still have life today, right? And now it's the power of social media and there's visibility everywhere. Like these stories, we're literally cementing legacies. Like if you think about it, it's kind of wild being in this space, like being able to tell these stories. It's rewarding, yes, but these stories are cemented on these podcasts forever,
Can I
forever.
can I dork a little as the history teacher? Because there
Yes.
is some anthropology to it. The
Okay.
reason why people started to live long is because the elder in the society then became valued because they knew everything that came before them. So the reason that like an elder was kept in tribal times was like he couldn't hunt or gather anymore, but he knew how to hunt and gather. He could teach others to hunt and gather, but he could explain the lineage of how many people did that. And literally storytelling and sharing other people's stories has been woven around since before people could talk because it was done through demonstration. And that's really how communication starts, is how do you share not just your own journey, but other people's journeys. And it's why storytelling is such a powerful craft that we see it in social media, movies, and everything else.
I love it. I'm here for all of that.
I know.
I I
There's
love
very
what we
few
do.
people who actually enjoy like when I go to the history route. So I
I
appreciate it.
mean, no, that was great. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah. But it's the importance of what we do, and it just shows like it's part of how we do this is you need to understand like not only have we lived it and your story is so powerful and I didn't even know so many aspects of it before we got on today, but like I've only known you from showcasing others, which just shows that like it's powerful that that's not even the first card you pull other people's cards while still having an amazing card yourself. And
Yeah.
it's one of my best coaches, Kim Terrapelli, who we talked about before the podcast. She showcases all the brilliance she has done for others before even mentioning it of herself. And you two are two of my favorite leaders in the community, is what I will say.
Thank you. Thank you. It's honestly the same with you. Like I feel like you're always this warm person. You make people feel comfortable to share. So that speaks to your character as well. Because, I be quiet about my business and then you got me all blabbing my mouth.
Because But again, look at how I started Men's Support Monday. I really
Yeah.
just want to learn from others. And I think
Yeah,
that's the best part is some people do view it as like a gatekeeping of, well, I learned it from them. I'm not going to share it. Where there's other people I think like you and me who are like, no, I learned it. I want to pass it on to someone
for
else.
sure.
And I think when coaches have more of an abundant strategy of, like I'm hoping that someone hears your story and says, you know what, like I've listened to Rob, but I think I resonate with Shar, and I want that to happen. I want people to hear this episode and say, "No, that's my people," or "That's the person who Rob knows who can help me with this." And that's how summer camp was built, was the idea of like, look, I'm good at this. Here are all the people who do these things. Like when you were a unifier, you realize that. And I love the fact that you share so openly and honestly. But, that's only half the battle. The next part is how do you take these lessons and hold people accountable? And that's what you do in your coaching practice.
For sure, for sure. And I think that some people do want accountability because people do want to win. I think, like, generally, sometimes we just don't have direction. Sometimes we don't necessarily have some people don't even have a cheerleader at home, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes me sad, yes, but then I'm also happy that they crossed my path because I think sometimes someone believed in me, right? Someone saw something in me, as I mentioned before I saw it in myself. Sometimes I look at my clients and I'm like, you know what? Maybe you just need someone in this very moment who's going to see something in you that you're not seeing for yourself. Because everyone has something like this. The more you talk to people, the more fascinating they get. It's just a matter of like, how much do you want to share with me?
But here's what I say on almost all these episodes. The least interesting part of everyone who I interview is their bariatric process. Like that is the least interesting part in most of the people. And I think that's the coolest part is with these episodes, it's like, yes, do we both know how to bariatric? Yes. And we do a very good job of it. But the more interesting part is like, look at your life, look at how you were raised, and look at how you were put up against a wall during the holiday season. And that is tough. I only saw you before this as someone in the bariatric community. And the fact that that story now is here and someone can hear that and say, look, there are single mothers who listen to my story every day. There are single people who are dealing with going paycheck to paycheck every single day. We know coaches who try to figure this out. If someone can hear this and say, Shar gets it and we get it, that's like the best thing you can do.
Yes, and I love that we can do that. And I think there's power in community, right? And you're gonna find your community, whether that's a podcasting gang like us here or the bariatric community, but I think there is power in community, getting yourself in proximity to the things that lead you closer to your purpose. I think is important. We all have the same 24 hours in the day, but it's what we choose to do with those 24 hours that mean the most. You can sit with those 24 hours and not feel great about yourself. You can sit with those 24 hours and be focused on somebody else's journey. But let me tell you, the time's going to go by regardless. And I'm telling you that when you focus on you, it pays tenfold. When you focus on your purpose, it's always going to give you more than what you put in. And yeah, it's hard. None of this is easy. The bariatric journey is not easy. The entrepreneurship stuff isn't easy either. But like if it was easy, then everyone would have it figured out. And I know you guys have heard that plenty of times, but realistically, it's the people that are willing to show up and put in the effort, even if it's small efforts. Because another thing that comes up too is that consistency piece. Like consistency is not I'm showing up at 100% every single day. No, sometimes I'm showing up at 35. Maybe today I'm at 15, but it's the fact that I care enough to still show up for myself. That's important. That's important. No matter what aspect of your life you're applying that to, just show up. Please just show up, even if it's at 1%, even if you're just scratching to get through, just show up. Just show up.
As of this recording, I had a rough month and I own it. It has not been the easiest month for me.
Yeah.
And it's been at like sometimes where like the business is doing better than it ever has before. There's a lot in my professional life that I've never been better before, but that doesn't mean we don't have rough points. But I still did my check-in for my coach. I still showed up. I might have done less than what I normally did, but I also owned the fact of like, look, I'm in a season of life right now where I'm questioning. And because of that, I need to hold space for it, and something else had to go back for it. So Char, I'm looking at it, and this is like the beauty of these things is I realize like we're right up to close to where we want to be. Is there one before we get into actually no, because I'm still figuring this out and I'm taking messy action. Have you heard any episodes of the podcast so far?
This one.
Okay, good. So we've got that's actually the best answer. Mel flat out gave me the straight no, but we're getting better and we're moving forward. So at the end of the episodes, but we also did the data. Nobody follows through past the 40-minute mark on these episodes. So we can say whatever we want in this space. I go through my busy method and I ask everyone to share a bit of yours. You can take it from coaching or bariatrics because I think if anyone pulls this episode, they realize if you can do it in bariatrics, you can do it in entrepreneurship because it still takes the same habits, patterns, behaviors. So what is the best habit you have built in your entrepreneurial or your bariatric journey?
Back to that consistency, right? And It's actually a twofer, right? Consistency and embracing failure because the two just play so well together, right? It's very easy to not be consistent when you fail, right? And failure, we need to start looking at failure a little differently. And I gotta set up for this one because I take this one really, really to heart, right? Because so many people stop at failure. And I want to ask you guys, who do you look up to, right? Some people look up to Kobe, some people look up to Oprah, some people look up, to Michelle Obama, whatever, whoever you look up to. I guarantee you, somewhere in their portfolio of many, many projects and many, many ventures they may have gone after, they have failed. Sorry to tell you, they have failed at some point and at some, point in their life. And that is part of the process, right? So before you sit there and like, I don't want to do this because I might fail, you're going to fail. And I'm not saying that from like a negative space. I just want you to come to grips with that. What are you going to do after that is what's important, right? If you're failing, you're actively trying stuff. So that's a win, right? Like if we want to
Get
say
out
the
of your
silver
comfort.
lining, you're getting out of your comfort zone. You're doing some stuff that maybe the approach you're taking isn't the right approach, but failure is always going to give you some feedback. Failure is going to tell you, hey, this didn't work. Let's try something else. Or maybe there's a small fine tuning that needs to happen and apply, and try again. But the people who win the overnight successes, those people failed their way to that point, right? There's no overnight success, right? Unless unless you were literally born with a silver spoon, there's no overnight success. There's some grit, there's some pain, there's some tears, there's some frustrations, and the people who know, they know. So I want you to step into that feeling of failure. Even in this bariatric journey, you're probably not going to do the right things all the time. That's okay. Do the right thing in the next hour. You don't need a Monday. You don't need a new month. Sometimes you just need a new hour. So apply that to whatever you must. The consistency piece. Just show up. Even if it's at 1%, even if it's just going into the gym, scanning your barcode, and then you're like, ready to go. At least you showed up, right? Because now you're setting up your mind to be like, look, this is part of our process. Next time, I'm going to get on the bike. Next time, I might lift some weights. I would love for you to not waste your gas and just go to the gym for no reason. But if all you do is just get on the bike, that's perfect. If all you do is make your way to the treadmill, that's great. It's just setting yourself up to continuously do things because I'll tell you a quick story and I'll keep it super short because we're coming down to crunch time.
Who cares? We're in the part of the episode nobody listens to. So talk all
No,
we're good.
listen, no, but seriously, when I started the gym, I was like, I don't know how to do any of this other stuff. So I'm just going to do legs because legs seem like the easiest thing to do. So I did legs for like 3 months before I did any other machine. And my legs were starting to look toned. So what did that do for me? I started building up this confidence in the gym that I never had before. And I was like, snap, like, okay, I see a little definition. Maybe I'll try this with my arms. Now I'm doing upper body. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I did that for another 3 months. I'm like, okay, I'm doing legs, upper body. Maybe I'll incorporate core. Mind you, the whole time I didn't pay for a trainer because I was like, I don't know if I want to pay for this expensive trainer. But I was watching the trainer train other people
Yeah, 100%.
and just copied everything.
I'm going to tell you, that's exactly how you need to learn. Is sometimes like when I couldn't afford coaching or anything else, I learned by watching. I looked on Instagram, I would figure it out. How I learned how to
Yes.
eliminate debt was by following, watching, figuring it out.
Yeah.
And it's
Yes.
just such a powerful skill. And you show that in so many aspects of your life. It's great that, like, when you meet someone like Shar, and this is if anyone is still listening, if you meet people who can figure it out, get yourself close to those people because even if they don't have the answer, they almost take it as a point of pride of like, I'll figure out how this answer is going to go. And it always comes amazing.
Yes. Yes. Same for Rob. Honestly, and I'm not saying this just because we're here, but I think that there's just certain people who you're always going to learn something from. There's going to be people who just are willing, and Rob is one of those people. I'm one of those people. A lot of the people in this community, they're just willing, and they're not asking for anything in return. Or if you do want to lock into any coaching, they're willing to really dedicate their time to seeing it through with you. And Rob is that type of person. I'm that type of person. A lot of the other folks in the community are those types of people. So definitely there is power in proximity. I say that all the time. Get around people who want to see you win. Get around people who see the light in you, even when you don't see the light in you. Get around people who are going to allow you to see new perspectives because you only have your two eyes. But when you add a few more eyes from people who have good intentions and who want to see you win, that is powerful. That is so powerful. So, yes, thank you, Rob.
It's the truth. And I always say, like, I've always been amazed that I've only gotten like 4 no's for podcast interviews in my entire like time doing it. It's like 4. Um, People are more willing to share than you think. And if anyone's listening to that, I know Shar is someone who is a yes person. Like it may not be that day, but she will find time on the calendar. And this is kind of how this came about was I knew we needed to connect more. You hosted me, I host you, but it's like I know like when we first went, I'm like, look, I'm in dumpster fire mode. Give me a month. And then a month came through and I'm like, how does this date work? And we made it work. And
Yes.
it's a beautiful thing. We got to fly through US and Y of the busy methods because we did B.
Yes.
We still have U for understanding nutrition. What's the best thing you've learned about your bariatric journey when it comes to nutrition?
Well, I need to stay hydrated, one, because that was still a pain point, right? Two, not everything that I was eating, I even knew what I was eating. So read those labels. I did not know how to read labels apparently, and that has been an eye opener for me. But one thing for sure, two things for certain. I know how to read a label now. And not only that, I'm open minded, right? So now I'm willing to try stuff that I probably would have never tried before. Food, guys, foods. But I'll try different foods and different things that I may have never even because I you grow up with stuff culturally and you're like stuck on those things for a while. So break
Of course.
kind of undoing cultural norms to step into this new side of nutrition, step into this new side of my new life because this bariatric journey is now my lifestyle.
Yeah, I think with the cultural norms thing, I 100% agree. I also like, for me personally, I've done it both ways where it's like, you know what, here's a healthy version of my mom's like gravy, which is spaghetti and meatballs essentially.
Yeah.
I now kind of go the opposite approach, and there's no wrong way. It's really a preference. I go the other end of the spectrum now where it's like, look, I only get my mom's Sunday gravy maybe once or twice a year. I plan
Yeah.
almost the whole month's calendar of food of that is the Sunday gravy day that is going in. And I think as long as you have a system that works for you, and that's what
Hmm.
you've really taught with today in this episode is when you find your systems, that's going to be what gets you the resources that you need. So it's awesome to hear it on all levels. When it comes to staying active, what's your favorite way to stay active for the S?
Oh, so I definitely prefer walking. I do now. I lift weights, which, like I said, it took a while to graduate to that part, but I will say start where you are. If all you know how to do is legs, do those legs. Get a trainer if you can afford to do the trainer, but start where you are. And honestly, feel I feel healthier. I feel like I my knees don't hurt as much. I didn't really think weights was gonna be for me, honestly. Maybe that
Nope,
sounds silly, but I was like,
it does. As someone who's coached hundreds of bariatric patients at this point to break down gym intimidation, I have to tell
yeah,
you that is not crazy at all.
okay, okay, good.
We actually have a whole program where we put you specifically to break down gym intimidation for 3 months. And it's based on start with where you're comfortable, keep progressing and moving it. And then eventually we get, we've developed some great gym rats over the years just by starting up, do what you, the exact way you did it. So good job by you. All right. The why is showing up for yourself. What does that look like these days?
Yeah, so definitely committing to things and actually seeing them through because I had a lot of open tabs and they weren't necessarily always getting seen through. And I think that there's this feeling that I've never felt before until I started seeing projects all the way through, whether that's with my health, whether that's with the business. When I set a goal and actually go from point A to even point D, E, F, G, right? I'm always very satisfied with that because I could have just left it at point A, but being able to see things all the way through is so important. And I'm setting an example, not just for myself, my kids, but like even the way I coach, right? I can't have these expectations from my clients if I'm not necessarily attempting to see things through myself. So that has been really, really important. Definitely the self care, skincare, taking care of my hair, all the girly things, right? Like I'd never thought that I'd have time for that stuff. I even got like a little sauna for after my workouts. I come home and I sit in the sauna and it's like one you can take down or whatever, but
Those are great.
it's awesome. They're awesome. Yes. If anyone wants to get one of those, check it out. I got mine on Amazon. But yeah, those little things are so important. I think it sets the tone for the rest of my day. Quiet time. Oh my gosh. Quiet. We were talking about that a few minutes ago. That quiet time is so important. When I silence like everything, I can actually sit with how my body feels. Like I can literally like I can hear my heart, I can kind of like feel the blood flow. Like it's so strange when you finally have a moment to just like with no interruptions, even if it's just like 5 minutes, like 2 minutes, it just silence the mind for a second. That's hard to do at times, but it is very, very rewarding. Very rewarding.
All right. You're like, okay, we spelt busy, which is good, but we actually put an exclamation point at the end of it.
Okay.
Um, what's your healthiest form of dopamine these days?
Ooh, okay. Duh, ugh, man. Just my business, right? I like trying new creative approaches. Um, this is gonna sound so podcast nerdy, but like when I get to secure a booking that I really, really wanted, I'm like just like I'm such a nerd for it because there's certain stories that I want to get on the show that I'm like, oh my God, when I get a yes, or even just recently, I didn't get a yes, but I got Perez Hilton to drop Talk Barry to me, and I
Oh,
was
that,
like,
yeah. And it's funny because no, we're gonna go a little podcasting dork on that because I
okay,
will
okay,
say, for this year's summer camp, I was able to get Mike Milner and Eric Bach. Mike is probably one of the best voices in both the fitness and nutrition space and the mindset space. And then on
nice.
top of that, the entrepreneurial space. He was our keynote speaker, and Eric, yes, he was our keynote. And then
That's
Eric
awesome.
Bach is a published author. He is my personal coach, but he also he trains Men's Health magazine people. He trains people in the NFL, and then it's me. And he is our closing speaker. And there is nothing greater than when the email comes in of yes. And it came from just simply asking the question. So if anyone gets it, it's me. And it's why you and me are, you're my people, and I hope I'm yours. And
Yeah.
Shar, if anyone's hearing this and realizes they are your people, what's the last thing you want to leave them with? Or one last final thought before we close this one out?
Yeah, just definitely reach out to Rob's point and perfect segues. Just ask the questions. Sometimes we see people in these spaces and we're like, oh, they're such a big creator and blah, blah, blah. We're all human beings, right? And while I don't always immediately get to my social media inbox, you're more than welcome to email me at talkburiedinme@gmail.com. And myself or someone on my team will definitely answer those questions. I think there's value in asking the questions. We don't all have the answers to every single aspect. But I know that while we have ChatGPT and all these other great tools, there's something about that lived experience. Going back to that lived experience, it's important to tap in with people who have walked the walk, to kind of talk the talk, because I know that those people can resonate with you way more than any artificial intelligence. And I love AI, but there's that human element is so important. So if you have questions, please do not hesitate. It could be me, it could be your provider. Maybe you're sitting with a question that you haven't been wanting to ask the question. There's literally, teachers say this all the time. There's no dumb question. There literally is no dumb question because if you
Really,
don't know, you don't know. That's just what it is. So ask those questions because there's now when you know, you can be someone's answer somewhere down the line. So you're not just asking the question for you, you're asking the question for future you who can be speaking life or speaking information into someone else. So don't be ashamed, ask the questions.
perfect way to finish that out. And the teacher in me is so thrilled to death that we closed on this. All right, Shar, and every busy bariatric who is actually listening to these. And if you are listening to this end, I am so proud of you. And you then know if this episode hit, it means to stop collecting awareness and start applying action. Don't just scroll, go follow Talk Barry to me and tell Shar what her work means to you. She's one of us who holds this space steady, and it's time we give her the same energy back. It's not that you're not uncoachable, you're not too far gone, you're not invisible. You just haven't found your hype team yet, and Shar is proof that they exist and can get you to where you need to go. So, as always, keep getting busy.
Thank you.